Welcome to the Legacy Crusaders YouTube channel, and this is Ask Judgeman, and you're here with Benji, and the first thing I want to do is I want to go over some misrulings I may have posted on the previous video. The first of which was a question posted by MonoBlueTronYGO, again, the player who defeated me in the Yugituber Grand Championship Mokuba League. I'll post a link to that above. His question was, if Trickstar Lilybell is banished by the effect of Psy-Framelord Omega, when it is returned to the hand on the following standby phase, will you be able to activate its effect to special summon it from the hand? And I said no, because it says Omega returns the card, and return is not the same thing as being sent or added. Now I'm mistaken on that, because one, I thought I knew the text of Psy-Framelord Omega fully. Psy-Framelord Omega says, banish that card until the next standby phase. It doesn't specify in any way what type of banishment it is, whether it's being added or taken away. But the word added is actually the strongest form of the word of a card being anywhere but in your hand and being placed into your hand. So any card that winds up in your hand from anywhere is considered to be added. So even the effect of Psy-Framelord Omega to return the card during the next standby phase, even though it's not being referred to as returned or drawn or added, is being added, because added encompasses all variations in which a card made it to your hand that was not in your hand. So yes, you would be able to special summon Trickstar Lilybell. The second thing that I noticed as an error in something I had posted was I made a comment about the damage step and cards that you can activate during the damage step. And I stated that you can activate any card that negates the activation of a card. Now, I did post the picture of one very current popular card, and that is My Body as a Shield. Now, the latest errata form of My Body as a Shield specifically states that you cannot activate this card during the damage step. So for that reason, you cannot activate My Body as a Shield during the damage step. Not because it violates the previous statement that I made in the previous video about the unwritten rules of Yu-Gi-Oh! That you can activate cards that negate activations during the damage step. Specifically, that card specifically says you cannot activate it during the damage step. So that is the reason why you cannot use My Body in the Shield during the damage step. And if you have an older copy of the card, it may not indicate that, but the latest version and latest text on all cards can be found in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card database, which I will post down below in the description box. So I haven't been getting a lot of questions down below in the comments, so I'm going to start off with one I've taken from a Facebook group. Now, because I've taken it from a Facebook group, they did not ask to have their question judged here, so I'm just going to display it and we'll discuss it. So the scenario is Teller Knight Triverr activates its effect to return all cards on the field to the hand as Chainlink 1, and then player 2 responds with Bottomless Trap Hole, trying to destroy or banish the Teller Knight Triverr. And his statement is that he knows that Bottomless is going to go to the graveyard because it was activated, but he doesn't understand or know why that card will not be returned to the hand, because it is still on the field until the chain resolves. Now, there's not a really good answer to this question, other than that it's been ruled that if a card, a spell or trap card, is activated and it would not remain face up on the field at the resolution of the chain, it will proceed to the graveyard even if it was selected to be either shuffled back into the deck or returned to the hand by cards such as Giant Trunade, Baxia of the Yang Zing, or Teller Knight Triverr, and that avoids certain kinds of card loops from being played. So any card that would go to the graveyard at the resolution of a chain cannot be returned to the hand or returned to the deck. So if you activate them, that'll prevent them from being shuffled back or returned to the hand. So there's no good reason I have for this, other than that it's been ruled this way and had to do a lot with Giant Trunade and some of the pretty crazy things you can do by returning certain cards to your hand. So it's just ruled that way. You can't return a card to the hand that is essentially marked for death. The card is going to go to the graveyard anyway, so you can't change its location with a card that would move it somewhere else. So let's move on to our next question. The following question was left in the comments of the previous video, and they were left by Draco's Demise, who has their own little Yugituber channel. Additionally, Draco's Demise is also a member of the YGO Dual Amino page, just like I am. I will link that in the description box below as well. Here's what Draco's Demise asks. They actually asked the question originally and it was unclear, so I asked them to restate it. So what they say is, Transmodify has to send a monster to the graveyard as cost, and since Sarashent, or Predaplant Sarashent, was sent to the graveyard by a card effect, I should be able to use its effect. I'm asking this because on YGO Pro Percy, I'm not able to get the search effect. I asked a lot of people on the Discord server, and they said I don't get the search, and it's because it was sent to the graveyard as a cost. So the real question is, why is it that Predaplant Sarashant cannot activate its effect to search a card when sent to the graveyard by Transmodify? Now, Predaplant Sarashant, I'm sure I'm butchering its name, needs to be sent to the graveyard by a card effect. Now, a card effect means at the resolution of the effect, or part of the effect, and not as a cost. Anything that's sent to the graveyard as a cost is not sent as a result of an effect. So, on Transmodify it states, tribute one monster. So by tributing one monster and then having a semicolon, it's indicated that Transmodify sends a monster to the graveyard as a cost, and therefore is not part of the effect. And for that reason, Predaplant Sarashant was not sent to the graveyard by an effect, and therefore cannot activate its effect. There are several other cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Which have had some issues before when it comes to trying to send things to the graveyard for cost versus effect, and the probably most famous would be Dark World monsters. Dark World monsters' effects activate when they are discarded from the hand by a card effect. But there are a lot of particularly great cards that discard cards as a result of cost, such as things like Divine Wrath. Discard one card, negate the activation of a monster effect, and destroy it. But that discard is also before the semicolon on Divine Wrath, and is therefore a cost, and therefore not a card effect. So, or Lightning Vortex, discard one card, semicolon, destroy all face-up monsters your opponent controls. It will not trigger the effects of a Dark World monster. Although there are some monsters in the game whose effects activate specifically when they are used as a cost, such as Atlanteans, who all say when this card is sent to the graveyard to activate a card effect, specifically meaning as a cost, you can activate a card effect. So Atlanteans activate when sent to the graveyard as cost of a water monster, whereas most other cards that say when they are sent to the graveyard as a cost only work as part of a card. When they say when they're sent to the graveyard by a card effect, will not activate as cost. But then again, we have some other cards even newer than that, such as Burning Abyss, that just say when they're sent to the graveyard. So they don't even acknowledge the method in which they were sent to the graveyard. So some cards will not work as cost, some will work as cost, and some only work as cost. And some work in any method in which they are sent to the graveyard. Let's take a look at one last question. So the following question once again came up on a Facebook group, so I'm not going to reveal the poster, but the question is, if I know my opponent is playing BA, Burning Abyss, but is yet to summon from his extra deck, I assume he is playing Dante. If I ask him what the effect of Dante is, does he have to answer me? And this actually brought out a pretty big debate on what public knowledge is and what you are required to say, what you have to say, because there are some things about this particular question that kind of bother me, and I think everybody would have some concerns as well. So let's take a look at public knowledge. So the following things are considered public knowledge: the number of cards in an opponent's hand or a player's hand, number of cards in their deck, main deck, side deck, or extra deck, number of cards in their graveyard, what their life points are, and any notes taken at any point. And information printed on any card in the game. So at any point in the game, if you ask someone what is said on the text of a certain card, they are technically obligated to tell you. They're not obligated to tell you whether they have the card or whether the card is in their deck or in their possession. But you can't ask as a fishing expedition to determine whether your opponent currently has the card. So, for instance, if you were to say, do you have Max C? You can't actually just say, do you have Max C? But perhaps you say, could you tell me the effect of Max C? And Max C's in their hand. So, I mean, are they publicly required to read the effect of Max C to you from their hand? That's ridiculous to fish for information like that. Your opponent shouldn't lie. It's against the rules to lie about what's going on as well. But they shouldn't have to go through their deck and find a copy of a card, tell you that there is a copy of the card in the deck, tell that there is a copy of the card in your hand, or anything of that nature. Now, if there's a judge at the event that you're particularly asking about for this type of question, you can ask the judge for the text of the card. Matter of fact, I'm always highly concerned about misstating what it says on a card, because misrepresenting the game state is most definitely cheating. So you don't want to misrepresent the game state, but I would definitely just tell my opponent, I don't know the text off the top of my head. Whether you do or not, it's really irrelevant. No one can prove that you do or don't. And to expect you to reveal information about the game that's currently being played would not be fair or realistic either. So you could allow the opponent to look up the card if you're playing in a more casual manner, or in a tournament you can ask a judge for the contents of the statistics or the effect of a particular card, or the stats or the attribute. If you want to answer your opponent, you should never answer with an exact, it is this, it says exactly that, because otherwise you're putting yourself in a position where you may be misrepresenting the game state, and you don't want to have to be in trouble for doing such a thing. Just tell them you don't know, and then have it looked up by someone else who's impartial to the game. Personally, if someone asks me what a card I have says, whether it's even face up on the field or not, I would never even try to tell them what the effect says. I always tell my opponent, if you'd like to know what the card says, you're welcome to read it if it's face up on the field or in the graveyard, because I don't want to be the person who misstated what the card does. Just because, you think you know your own cards as well as you do, and then you just misremember something so slight, or you leave out some minor additional piece of information that would matter to the game. So if you put it on your opponent to read a card, it becomes their problem if they misplay or do something that they should not do. I once asked a guy, I told the guy to read the card, and I added this every time that he did this, and I said, it's not within my best interest to tell you how to defeat me. You're welcome to read the card. And then he read it, and 3 seconds later he asked me what the card does, and I said, it's not within my best interest to tell you what the card does to help you beat me. You're welcome to read the card. And he got really annoyed, but the truth is he misread something and it led to him losing. So you should not be forced to cost yourself games. Alright, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure you leave a comment down below if you have a question that you'd like answered, and I'll see you next time.